These are tumultuous times to be living in one of the major metropolitan cities in the world. London is a massive city, and its landscape and environment are always changing. A history of interaction with various cultures around the world has molded the city into a well-recognized capital and an important financial hub. It has plenty to offer for food, entertainment, education, and social services, setting a high bar for the quality of life. And it really is a great experience to live here in this city, until you realize it has its flaws like any other largely populated cosmopolis. Behind the curtains, London can be a concrete jungle. It has a serious knife crime problem spiraling out of control, declining air qualities leading to breathing problems among adolescents. At rush hour, the roads become filled with cars, leading to traffic jams, inefficiency, and further air pollution. But what if there was a potential solution to it all? Researchers, scientists, and politicians have now begun to openly speak about a new emerging technology called the Internet of Things.
Smart cities will pullulate with sensors, all joined together by the Internet of Things.
My name is Leo Horiuchi. I'm a third-year undergraduate studying Science Technology Studies at UCL. Last summer, during the hottest week in London, my apartment was subject to a robbery. I left the windows slightly open to cool off while I went to go buy some food. And when I came back, someone had nudged it open and stolen my laptop, bag, and the important documents that were inside. I had hoped that the many cameras scattered across London would have caught the perpetrators. But I was wrong. There were no CCTV cameras on my street, and the police, while willing to investigate, they were pretty much helpless in this situation. I learned that the CCTVs had given me a false sense of security. I began to realize how futile the number of cameras around London are. And when I did more research, that's how I learned about the Internet of Things.
The Internet of Things refers to a large system of interconnected electronic objects and devices that can collect and exchange data over a network without the mediation of humans. This emerging technology holds promise because it would enable real-time data collection at an unprecedented scale. All the information collected can be analyzed and used for other purposes. One anticipated application of this concept is found in what we call smart cities. A smart city is a technologically enhanced metropolis that has data collecting devices deployed in almost all aspects of its normal operation. By using the information network provided by the Internet of Things, a smart city is thought to be able to continuously analyze, monitor, and adapt to the events in real time. In a city like London, where security, civic resources, and healthcare are under pressure, the Internet of Things could potentially bring solutions to those problems. Security is obviously an issue for concern in London, which explains why it is a priority in the development of its smart city infrastructure. We Londoners have grown used to the constant surveillance through CCTVs, but how would we feel if we were recognized everywhere we go? Facial recognition is the technology behind the filters on Instagram and Snapchat, but that's not its only use. It can be used to detect individual faces from large crowds by picking up every detail, and then looking into its database to see if it can find any matching codes. 2 years ago, cameras with facial detection technology were added to Piccadilly Circus's billboard screen, being able to register the age, gender, and mood of passerbys. This year, 10 live facial recognition trials were conducted. They consisted of feeding a watch list database of offenders wanted by the police and waiting to see if the live facial recognition would catch those offenders.
We're here to speak to Professor Jack Stilgoe, who teaches in the Department of Science Technology Studies at University College London.
Where we are here is sort of brand new development in King's Cross. There was recently a controversy over the summer because the private company that is running this development were found to be using facial recognition software. Now, their justification for doing that was that this would be a way for the citizens and visitors of this place, visitors more likely, to be safe. But people legitimately raised concerns that this was an infringement of their privacy in what felt like a public space. Clearly, surveillance is often justified in the name of security. If we know what everybody is doing all the time, then we should be able to account better for crime. We should be able to protect people from people that would do bad things to them.
In light of continued urbanization, aging populations, and climate change, The healthcare system faces ever-increasing demands and quality expectations. Nowadays, initiatives are being taken to encourage a more efficient healthcare system.
Well, the data tells us what's going on in health services, and if we know what's going on, we can make better informed decisions about where to invest our resources and what we need to do. We can also use that data to try to optimise healthcare services, so we can see which are performing well, which are not performing well, try to identify where the problems are, the bottlenecks are, and actually do a bit of service transformation.
Thus, smart wearable devices like fitness trackers and fitness bands. These devices are smart in the sense that they not only monitor health, but also provide solutions if needed at the right time.
It's really looking at how do we make sensors that are unobtrusive, can be worn on the body, are very low power, how do you get the data from those sensors, how do you process that data close to where it's generated, how does that feed into modelling and making risk prediction models.
Here in Britain, we have an unusual situation in which we have one big healthcare provider, and it is the National Health Service, which is a relatively well-trusted institution. So you can imagine that if the technologies are governed well, then the use of these technologies within a well-trusted institution and with a well-defined set of rules could have benefits for patients and for doctors.
Cities are growing at a very fast pace, with nearly 70% of people currently living in urban environments. Road traffic is a huge problem in most big cities like London, and while for very long the response was to build bigger highways, governments are now looking to the Internet of Things to move towards smart mobility. Bike rental has never been easier, with a number of e-bike companies allowing to locate, unlock, and pick up a bike through phone apps. Bike sharing is bringing a significant change to urban mobility in London, but also collecting very large amounts of location-based information about its riders. Smart lampposts are installed on Ebury Street to reduce air pollution. The environmental impact of lampposts is monitored through air quality monitors on the street.
You can imagine enormous benefits for example, environmental monitoring, for bottom-up social action, if people are able to get a better sense of what is around them and what is possible. So rather than, for example, it just being government or just being companies who are in control of the monitoring of, say, levels of pollutants in the atmosphere, if all citizens were able to, then you can imagine the enabling of new forms of collective action, which is really exciting.
Trash is getting smarter too, with the installation of intelligent garbage solutions spread around the UK. Big Belly bins are high-tech solar-powered bins that crush litter so they can hold up to 8 times more than a normal bin and inform council staff when they need to be emptied. This way, waste removal services are only sent when necessary, therefore cutting emissions and enhancing efficiency.
Despite the promise smart cities hold, the implementation of the Internet of Things is marred with social and ethical concerns. To start with, a large network like the Internet of Things significantly increases attack surfaces for cyber attacks.
If, for example, there were not localized systems but national systems of surveillance or security, as you recognize, those are going to be potential additional risks that will be orders of magnitude more complicated than just local security threats. It's one of these things, one of these issues that comes from getting locked into a complex new technology.
The most advanced technologies run the risk of being distributed unequally, like most emerging technologies.
Some places will encounter these benefits, but also these concerns more often than others, right? The reason why there is such a clear motivation among the people developing this area around King's Cross to keep the visitors safe, right, and install these surveillance technologies is because there is a lot at stake. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of wealthy people coming through this area, and you can imagine that in lots of parts of the country and lots of parts of the world there won't be those same sorts of same sorts of incentives.
In addition to issues of unequal care, the Internet of Things raises many questions of how responsibility should be handled in the case of medical mishaps.
Who does take responsibility when something goes wrong, and who takes the credit? You know, when something goes right. Those questions are often put off until later, which is a problem. I would say we need to encounter those questions early and talk about them.
To me, however, the most alarming part about smart cities is the power private companies could have, consolidating data with minimal government interference.
To guarantee the positive implementation of smart city technologies, we must push the government to communicate the interests of its citizens with private companies. Being an optimist myself, I believe London has the potential to grow into a model smart city if Londoners take initiative in the building process moving forward.